Today, we're going to talk about daily habits that can boost brain health and prevent decline. And by decline, I'm talking about cognitive decline. So, here's the thing that I think you should be doing every single day. Number one, start your day with a cup or two or three of coffee. Now, coffee is one of the oldest beverages in the world. It's one of the top three after drinking water and tea. And here's the thing about coffee is that it's not just a morning ritual. It actually contains bioactives that is good for your brain, for brain health. Some of the bioactives include chlorogenic acid. Chlorogenic acid reduces inflammation in the brain. Very important, inflammation on the whole body, but also in the brain. The chlorogenic acid that you drink with a cup of joe actually crosses the blood-brain barrier. Now the brain is kept in the skull, and there's a filter that keeps out all the bad stuff. It's called the blood-brain barrier. It's made out of the lining of blood vessels, and so when blood tries to go through that lining, it's actually filtering out any of the harmful things. Chlorogenic acid goes right through it into the brain, lowering inflammation. The other thing that's in coffee is caffeine, right? So we know that caffeine, which has another name, is called a methylxanthine, all right? Also known, AKA, as caffeine. Caffeine gets into the brain, goes through the blood-brain barrier, and it actually does some really, really interesting things. It improves your cognition, improves your memory, it increases your ability to focus and concentrate. I know when I was in medical school, I actually drank a lot of coffee so that I could actually get up after a late night of studying or a late night of being on call. If I had to actually be like up and alert the next day, coffee would always help. I think most people know that. If you're a truck driver and you're drinking a cup of coffee, going that 18-wheeler down across the country, same deal. Okay, so that's caffeine. And then there's also caffeic acid, which is another bioactive that actually is anti-inflammatory and protects your neurons, which our brain is made out of neurons. Okay, so let me just tell you, this benefit of coffee has been supported by clinical studies. In fact, clinical studies have shown that drinking anywhere between 2 to 5 cups of coffee a day, all right, can increase alertness, increase your attention span, improve your sense of well-being, and sharpen your concentration. That's what you want, right? Now, people have a lot of beef against caffeine in coffee, and some people are really sensitive to it, but actually for most people, if you can actually tolerate the caffeine, this is actually a big cognitive brain health benefit of drinking coffee. Now, other studies have shown that if you're a lifelong drinker of coffee, that would be me. I'm sure some of you also are lifelong or decade-long drinkers of coffee. That's actually where the benefits are shown in terms of lowering the risk of cognitive decline and dementia. Pretty amazing benefit from drinking something that, sort of instinctive, drinking every single morning. Now, caffeine in coffee improves brain neuron function. Your brain is made out of neurons. These are nerves that have to communicate from one nerve cell to the next. Okay, think about a little zap of electricity getting this way, this one zaps over there. That's how the brain actually works, and caffeine improves that function, and it actually protects the neurons in your brain against dysfunction, meaning problems with the wiring. So the electricity, the current isn't flowing well. Caffeine protects it to keep that electrical current, that neurotransmission, very, very smooth in your brain. Studies have also shown that drinking coffee reduces the risk of stroke, reduces the risk of Parkinson's disease, and reduces the risk of Alzheimer's disease. Most of these are association studies done in large populations, but hey, we know that the coffee actually protects the neuron, the caffeic acid, chlorogenic acid lowers inflammation, so that large epidemiological studies showing this correlation make perfect sense, all right? Now, caffeine has also been implicated specifically in being able to protect against Alzheimer's disease, which is really good. This is a lab research looking at what caffeine actually does to the plaques that Alzheimer's model form. These are usually mice. They look at the effect of caffeine. They also take a look at chlorogenic acid in a lab to see what it does to the circulation of your brain. Now, let me explain. If you want good brain health, you need to have good vascular health or good blood vessel health. You know why? Because there are 400 miles of blood vessels in your brain. And these are the highways and byways that are bringing oxygen to your brain cells, nutrients to your brain cells, glucose to your brain cells. That's right, I said glucose. Some of you might say, well, isn't glucose bad? Nope, your brain absolutely needs glucose in order to function. In fact, you would have brain fog if you actually didn't have enough blood sugar, healthy amounts of blood sugar in your brain. Now, so how do you get good vascular health? Again, these are the highways and byways of everything, oxygen and nutrients and survival factors to your brain. Well, you need to actually have good endothelium. That's the lining of the blood vessels has to be really healthy. The lining of the blood vessels is like an ice skating rink. The ice is really smooth. If you go to the ice skating rink, if you ever skated when you were a kid, after the Zamboni, that's the ice polishing machine runs through it. Man, is that ice slippery and smooth. Perfect for skating, right? In fact, if you took a sweater and you threw it after the Zamboni, that's a machine that cleans the ice, you threw the sweater out, it would slide all the way across the rink, right? Now, that's what you want. But the endothelium, the lining of the blood vessels, have to be smooth. But when you get older, and particularly if you've got hardening of the arteries, high cholesterol, diabetes, or smoking cigarettes, exposed to secondhand smoke, have all kinds of other chronic diseases, inflammatory diseases, the endothelial lining, including the lining in your brain, those 400 miles gets damaged. When the endothelium, that lining of blood vessels, that slippery lining gets damaged, you know what happens? It is like an ice skating rink after a hockey game, right? Think about how roughed up that ice is, right? So if you've ever been to a regular public ice skating rink when you were a kid, after a session of skating, if you took that sweater and threw it on the ice, what would happen? It would just stay right there. There's no way it would slide because the ice is so roughed up. That's what can happen with endothelial damage to the lining of the blood vessels. And when that actually happens, your brain is not getting good blood flow. And the sticky lining can actually start to attract lipids, so then your blood vessels get even more narrow. And of course, when you've got stickiness, guess what? Your blood platelets can stick, and that can cause microclots, and that can cause vascular dementia. So if you want good brain health, you want good vascular health. If you want good vascular health, well, chlorogenic acid, which is found in coffee, actually protects it, keeps the ice, the ice skating rink slippery and smooth the way that you want it, so blood can flow smoothly right through the 400 miles of blood vessels in your brain. Really, really important. That is key to preventing vascular dementia, which is a very, very common form of dementia where you don't have good blood vessels, good blood flow to your brain, and without adequate oxygen to your brain, it's not quite having a heart attack to your brain, but it's not getting enough oxygen. It's kind of like a scuba diver that's sucking on a tank that's almost out of air. It is a dangerous situation. You can't function very well in that kind of scenario. Okay, now here's another kind of benefit for coffee, and that is that coffee benefits gut health. Coffee benefits gut health. It's beneficial to the gut microbiome. That's a healthy gut bacteria. And guess what? Because coffee actually gets all the way down to your gut microbiome, and this is another benefit, is that it's been shown to reduce the risk of the development of colon cancer, right? You drink your coffee, good stuff to the brain, all right? This is what we're talking about with this video, but it also tumbles all the way down to your gut. Good for your gut microbiome, lowers the risk of colorectal cancer. That's what clinical studies have found. Oh, but wait a minute. Gut health is good for brain health, right? That's the gut-brain axis we're talking about. And so when you drink coffee, that's good for gut health. It actually benefits your brain as well. It improves the ability for the brain's neurotransmitters to be able to form, like dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. These are the things that our gut bacteria help our brain communicate to release these neurotransmitters. Okay, now I can tell you there's a little bit more in terms of neurotransmitters is important to think about. Studies in the lab have shown that the caffeine, the kind of caffeine found in coffee, can reduce stress-induced neurotransmitter responses. All right, so when you're super stressed out, your brain is releasing neurotransmitters like crazy. It's like a lightning storm going off in your head because of stress, right? Like when you're feeling panicked and super stressed out, your brain is kind of nuts, right? And this is what's happening. Neurotransmitters are firing left and right. Think about it like six-shooters shooting left and right everywhere. All right. Well, what caffeine does is it reduces that neurotransmitter chaos. All right. And what this does is actually help focus attention, your brain's ability to focus attention under stressful circumstances. I can tell you, as somebody who went through medical school and medical training, residency training, this is the kind of stuff that even though we were drinking coffee all the time, when we, just to kind of stay awake, whenever we actually had a stressful, super stressful clinical situation, code blue, right? This is a cardiac arrest. Like we're all running into the area, to the hospital room where the cardiac arrest took place. Boom, we were absolutely laser focused, like Navy SEALs, on taking care of that patient and making sure all the things that were being done completely in a focused, accurate way. All right. So I'm just telling you from my own experience how coffee drinking actually made it easier for me to stay really, really focused under conditions of stress. Now, there was a rumor a long time ago that came up that said, well, don't drink too much coffee because it actually will make your heart rhythms go crazy. It can cause atrial fibrillation. It can cause all these other problems. Well, actually, it's been shown now that drinking coffee, reasonable amounts of coffee, so I'm talking about 2 to 5 cups a day, does not increase the risk of heart disease, does not increase the risk of arrhythmia, does not. Okay, so safe. Now, if you actually have atrial fibrillation and you are sensitive to caffeine, this is something you should actually talk to your cardiologist about. I can't give you medical advice on a video like this, but if you already have an arrhythmia and you're trying to drink coffee, you might want to actually have a conversation with your cardiologist just to be safe. That's what I recommend people to do. But if you don't have it, drinking coffee doesn't cause it. All right, that's the key thing. Like I said, some people are sensitive to caffeine, and and every individual is different. This is personalized reactions to different kinds of foods, and caffeine can sometimes cause sleep disturbances. It doesn't happen to everybody. That's actually what the generalization is. Well, I'm not going to drink coffee at night because it's going to disturb my sleep. Actually, it doesn't disturb sleep for everyone. Like for me, I could drink a cup of coffee in the evening and it wouldn't disturb me at all. And in fact, if you look at how people in the Mediterranean actually work, like in Italy, they will eat an Italian meal, dinner, and oftentimes they'll have one small cup of espresso after dinner, boop, shove it right down the hatch, and it doesn't actually disturb sleep at all. In fact, what it does is it actually decreases sleep latency, so the next morning it's a little easier to get up in the morning. That's a whole other topic that we're going to address in another video, this whole idea of sleep latency. Now, some people are sensitive to coffee, and it could make them more anxious, but again, this whole idea about like caffeine triggering heart rhythm problems and causing insomnia and triggering anxiety, that may be true on an individual basis, but it can't be generalized, and the overall benefits of drinking coffee are exceedingly good. But you should actually take a look at your individual tolerance to coffee. Now, some people also do experience caffeine withdrawal if they stop coffee all of a sudden. I don't know why you'd want to do that. I love my coffee. I guess if I run out of coffee beans or run out of ground coffee, I might not drink it a day or two. But for the most part, if you stop coffee for a couple of days, you're probably going to be just fine. In fact, a great example is if you go on vacation, if you're working and drinking coffee with your regular day job, and you go on vacation and you're like, I get to kick my heels up and relax a little bit. If you don't have that cup of coffee, you're probably going to be just fine. So it's context dependent. All right. So that was tip number 1. Tip number 2 for brain health is, I said, to start your coffee with coffee. And now I'm going to tell you to end your day with a cup of tea. We're talking about daytime habits, actually for brain health. Start with coffee, end with tea. This is what I actually do almost every single night. Now, why do I end with tea? Well, tea is good. Green tea, we know, has catechins, EGCG, epigallocatechin 3 gallate. All right, it's a mouthful. You don't have to try to memorize it. Just know that researchers like me, actually, we know what it is. All right, so polyphenols, green tea. Green tea also has caffeine, right? And it also has something called L-theanine. Guess what? All of these bioactives, EGCG, caffeine, L-theanine, they are all anti-inflammatory. End of the day, what better thing can you do than to cool off any inflammation, right? So that's what green tea does. By the way, L-theanine has been studied. It actually improves calmness as well. So clinical trials have been done in humans being administered L-theanine, and it actually induces a sense of calmness and a sense of relaxation. It calms your mind. So that's one of the reasons why I drink tea at the end of the day. After dinner, I might sip some tea. I never put dairy in my tea or coffee, by the way, because dairy, cow fat, actually forms little tiny soap bubbles around the polyphenols. And when I drink the coffee or the tea, I'll still get some of the bioactives, but a lot of it gets wrapped up in those little soap bubbles from dairy, milk, dairy fat, and then tumbles down through my gut, and I don't absorb as much as I could. Now, nut milks are okay, so if you really want to cut your tea or coffee, an almond milk or soy milk or cashew milk, all that is actually fine. They won't form those same type of soap bubbles. All right, back to tea. If I want to get as much EGCG as I can, I'm drinking my tea straight. I'm sipping it at the end of the day. It's calming. And the other thing it does is it actually improves a process called neurogenesis. So this has been studied in the lab. The bioactives like EGCG from tea can actually help your neurons stay healthy, and they can even cause them to grow. This has been studied in sort of developing animals, young animals, and looking at brain development. Guess what? It helps your nerves actually grow. Now, some teas like matcha, which is packed with EGCG, right? So look, regular tea leaves that you're actually soaking and steeping in a tea ball, for example, is dissolving out the polyphenols in hot water. You're steeping the tea, all right? And a lot of the polyphenols will come out, but not all of it, because it's a whole leaf. Well, matcha actually is the entire leaf ground up into a fine powder. Now you've got this fine powder. All of it is actually in the water. You stir up a cup of matcha, it's powdery green, bright green. You're going to get all the tea leaves, all the dietary fiber, good for your microbiome, but all the polyphenols, all the EGCG, all the L-theanine, all the caffeine as well. So matcha tea has been studied clinically and shown that not only is it in high levels of EGCG, has high levels of EGCG bioactives, it's also been shown to enhance cognitive function, right? So here's an advantage of grounding up the whole leaf as opposed to just steeping the tea leaves or putting in a tea bag, where you're not going to get all those polyphenols out that you could. All right. Clinical studies have also shown that green tea can reduce anxiety. Again, that calming effect of L-theanine. And calming anxiety is actually really important for self-care, really important for mental health and mental wellness. And look, who doesn't live with some amount of stress? In fact, arguably, some stress is good for your health. You don't want to be completely chill the whole time. A little tension is good in your life, but unfortunately, in our usual lives, we live with probably too much stress. So it's a welcome opportunity to have a cup of tea at night to actually lower your stress. Now, the other thing is that L-theanine has been studied, and it improves clinically. It improves the ability for executive function decision-making, right? Now, you might not need this at night, but you certainly want it the next morning when you wake up. So L-theanine actually helps your brain. We're talking about brain health now. Be able to make clearer, calmer, better executive decisions. You don't want to be the CEO. You're the CEO of a company. You can be the CEO of your own life, and you want to be able to be that executive and make good executive decisions for yourself. It doesn't matter even if it affects anyone else. Even if it's just for you, you want to have clarity on that. And L-theanine in green tea is actually good. Now, green tea also improves memory and the ability to stay focused, so you have less distractions. Again, this is not something you need at night. You want calmness at night, but actually having all this stuff in your bloodstream allows you to function better the next day. You wake up and your brain is refreshed. It had a calm night of sleep, and now you've got this ability to focus and make better decisions. That's actually a really, really good thing. And how do we know that green tea can affect brain activity, the kind of brain activity we're talking about? Because there is actually a scan called fMRI, functional MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, that actually been shown, and when people have drink tea, you study brain activity, and you can see it light up. It actually does your brain a world of good by lighting it up. The ECGC we talked about reduces the risk of cognitive decline. It protects you against neurodegenerative diseases. There's multiple mechanisms of action. We don't understand everything about how this works. Look, I'm a scientist, and an honest scientist will tell you when they don't know. So I'm telling you, we don't have all the answers to how green tea and the EGCG protects against neurodegeneration, but clearly one of the explanations that it lowers inflammation. That's one of the common denominators of all brain diseases is inflammation. So green tea, EGCG, lowers that inflammation. All right. Now, the other thing that EGCG and the other polyphenols in green tea does is it improves your endothelial health. Remember, the endothelium is that ice skating, slippery layer of cells lining blood vessels. You want it to be really smooth. Blood just kind of goes, like it just cruises right through your brain, delivers the oxygen, delivers the nutrients. Green tea helps vascular health, reduces the risk of vascular dementia, helps that blood get to where it needs to in your brain so you actually have better function. All right? So drink coffee in the morning, drink tea at night. Now, the third thing, a habit I'm telling you that's good for your brain health is to pay attention to how you can improve your metabolism throughout the day. Now, metabolism is basically how your body uses energy, which you have to get that fuel for your energy by eating food, right? So you eat food, it gets turned into fuel, the fuel gets stored in your body, and then your body can actually run its activities. You know, it runs basic functions, but you can also run to the airport or do whatever else you need to do because you have the fuel like gas in a gas tank. That's how your metabolism actually works. And how many calories you eat is exactly equivalent in terms of concept into how many gallons of fuel you actually put in your fuel tank. Now, obviously, if you want to put fuel in your fuel tank, you want to put good quality fuel. Nobody wants to put crappy fuel in your fuel tank. And this is the same with the quality of food that you load energy into your body. You want good quality fuel, means you have to eat good quality food. So when we talk about having good whole foods, mostly plant-based, eaten in healthy oils, nuts and legumes, and seeds, et cetera, et cetera. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about good quality fuel. Now, just like a car, every now and then, if you put some crummy gas because you run out of dollars, you're searching for the small change that you could put a couple of gallons in your tank. Look, do that once in a while. Your car's not going to crap out because of that. But if you put crappy quality fuel in your body day in and day out, week after week, month after month, year in and year out, you know what's going to happen to your car when you put poor quality fuel all the time into your car? It's not going to last as long. The engine's not going to function as well. The fuel lines are going to get clogged. Same deal in your body. So to take care of your metabolism, and by the way, I'm talking about brain metabolism being super intense compared to your regular body metabolism. You want to actually put good quality fuel in your tank. And you don't want to actually put too much in your tank as well. If you overflow your gas tank, what happens at the gas station? If you overflow your gas tank, that's like eating too much, overeating, too many calories in your body. Well, at the filling station, if you put too much gas in your gas tank, the gas flows up. If you didn't have a clicker that would stop the gas nozzle, what would happen? The gas would overflow out of your tank, run down the side of the car, around the tires, pool around your shoes, and now you're standing in a dangerous, harmful, flammable mess, right? That's what happens when you overfill your gas tank. Now imagine if you did that with food. And this is what happens. We overeat. Overconsumption is one of the underlying problems in Western society, including America. We overeat. It's a product of having a prosperous society. We've got food everywhere. There's no limitations. We eat as much as we want. Well, sometimes we want too much, or we overeat, or we're addicted to eating, or we're conditioned or even fooled into eating food that tastes really great, ultra-processed foods. When we overeat, we are overloading our fuel tanks, and that is bad because it overloads our metabolism. We're storing too much fuel. Now, in our body, we can't just spill out the fuel like a metal gas tank in a car. What happens is that our extra fuel gets stored into our fat cells, also called adipose cells. You fill up one adipose cell with too much food. That's okay, you got another adipose cell. Oh, you're still eating? Let's fill that one up too. Oh, still eating? You fill up another one until you're running out of fat cells. Now your body, if you still keep on overeating, will call in stem cells, fat stem cells, to make more fat. Now you can make more, fill up another fat cell and another one and another one. And you see, this is why when you overeat, you're actually going to build up fat. All right. This is actually how it works. Our metabolism, and then our body's got to burn it down. But our body isn't going to be able to burn things down naturally if we overload it over a long period of time. And this is why we have to control the amount of food that we eat. Okay. So you got to watch your metabolism, not overfill your tank. Now, habit number 4 is you want to eat foods that activate your metabolism to burn down fat. Now, I write about this in my book, Eat to Beat Your Diet. And if you guys haven't seen it, this is what it looks like. All right, Eat to Beat Your Diet. It's got a lot of pages, but the key is that there's a lot of tables and charts of foods that can activate your metabolism. So yes, you can eat to burn down harmful body fat and elevate your metabolism, right? So I'm going to tell you that some of the foods that you should be eating to activate your metabolism are beans, legumes, white beans, kidney beans, red beans, pinto beans, you name it, gigantic fava beans, all great, okay? Soybeans, chickpeas, lentils. These actually, these foods, these beans and legumes can actually activate your metabolism. Another category of food that can activate your metabolism are brassica vegetables. Brassica vegetables are the ones that have a slightly sulfurous taste. You know, broccoli, kale, bok choy, cabbage, cauliflower, all those types of Swiss chard. Those types of brassica really do a great job of activating our metabolism. They activate our brown fat, which burns down harmful white fat. So you're supercharging your metabolism. I have a video on many videos actually talking about brown fat and white fat. In a nutshell, brown fat is good fat. White fat can be bad fat if we overeat. It grows up too much. And when we eat foods like brassica that contain a bioactive called sulforaphanes, they activate the brown fat. It's just like in a kitchen where you've got a gas range. You go click, 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 whoosh. Now you can cook your soup or boil your water. All right. Well, in your brown fat, when that happens, click, 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 whoosh, you're eating the broccoli. Sulforaphanes are activating the brown fat. That brown fat, like your range, is on fire. It's generating heat. It's called thermogenesis. Now, on your stove, in order for your gas range to generate heat, click, 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 whoosh, it's got to draw gas from someplace. It gets it from the gas line. Maybe you got a tank in the side of your house, or maybe you've got gas coming from your street lines. Well, in your body, when your brown fat goes click, 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 whoosh, because you've eaten brassica vegetables with the sulforaphanes, it's heating up, thermogenesis. Where's the fat, brown fat, drawing that energy from, the fuel from? Well, it's drawing it from your white fat, specifically your visceral fat. So brown fat can burn down white fat. Brown fat's good fat, burns down excess bad fat, white fat, and brassica can actually activate that. And so can onions. Onions are allium. Allium actually belongs to a whole category. It's a big umbrella. Onions, scallions, shallots, garlic, they all fall in this category. They actually contain quercetin. Quercetin is another bioactive that, you got it, activates your brown fat, click, 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 whoosh, draws down that energy and fuel from harmful excess white fat. Tea can also do the same thing, the catechins in tea. So we're talking about EGCG, and turns on your brown fat to burn down your white fat. It's not just green tea, not just matcha, but it turns out that oolong tea, which is the kind of tea you get in a Chinese restaurant oftentimes, jasmine tea can do the same thing. Even black teas like pu'er tea, which is a fermented tea, or Earl Grey tea, black English breakfast tea, they will all do the same thing. So they can actually turn on your brown fat to burn down your white fat. And guess what? So can coffee with chlorogenic acid. Again, back to the coffee, back to the thing you start the day with, and the tea, end the day with. Now I'm telling you, in the middle, when you're eating, choose some of these foods, the beans, the brassica, the onions, the carrots, the tea, the coffee, and you're actually going to be practicing habits that are better for brain health as well. Okay, now I can't let you forget that your gut health is connected to your brain health. So if your gut isn't healthy, your brain's probably not healthy as well. And gut inflammation is such a huge deal. And this is one of the reasons why you want to cut down on ultra-processed foods, because many ultra-processed foods actually damage your gut bacteria, which then makes unhealthy gut, which then makes it difficult to have a healthy brain. Now, what about a snack? We talked about other foods. You want a brain healthy snack? Try eating tree nuts. Tree nuts, of course, if you're not allergic, but most people are not. Tree nuts, pecans, almonds, walnuts, cashews, macadamias, even pine nuts, all right? Nuts are a healthy source of healthy fats, good source of healthy fats, and a source of dietary fiber. Good for gut health, good for brain health, all right? And nuts definitely improve the microbiome. And this, in a good healthy microbiome, guess what? Lowers inflammation. Lowers inflammation, also good for the brain. And good healthy gut bacteria help your brain secrete those neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, all helpful for you to have a better mood. Good brain health, good emotional health, good mental health, mental wellness as well. So I gave you some foods that are actually good. I'll give you one last tip about foods that are actually healthy are eat colorful foods. Colorful foods are plant-based foods. You go to the produce section, you look at your red bell peppers, the green peppers, you look at the orange and yellow peppers. There's a whole variety of green. That counts too. This green isn't just one color. It's a whole bunch of different colors you can see in the produce section. Mix it up. And the fruits, of course. Seasonal fruits have all kinds of different colors. Just look at the berry section. Amazing. Those colorful bioactives, in other words, the natural chemicals that give the foods their colors, actually activate your metabolism, burn down harmful body fat, and the polyphenols are good for brain health as well. Okay, now, if you want a basic beverage for brain health, I know we talked about tea, I know we talked about coffee, but here is the most important tip I can give you. Don't forget to drink water. Water is the most popular beverage in the world, and it's necessary to prevent dehydration of your brain. Really, really important. When your brain is really dehydrated, okay, it's in big trouble. So you want to actually drink enough water every day to kind of keep your brain watered. So think about a plant that you might have on your kitchen windowsill. You're going to give it a little water. You don't have to be too waterlogged, and that kill the roots. But you want to have just enough to be able to actually keep it alive and thriving in the sunshine. And the same thing of drinking water. Now, water's in a lot of things. Water's in coffee, water's in tea. But I'm bringing this point up because you can just drink regular old plain water. Now, one little caution about drinking water these days that we know, look, bottled water is very, very popular, right? Like you go to any place, if you're taking a vacation and you're a tourist and you're going to go for a hike or you're going to go to the beach or whatever, what are you going to get? A bottle of water, plastic container with water. Now we know that the plastic sheds particles, billions of particles into bottled water, and that's not good. So I urge you to drink water out of a glass if you can, all right? Might not be possible, and it's true. We're surrounded by plastic anyway, but this day and age, if you know that plastic is found embedded in your blood vessels, it's embedded in the brain, it's found in your bloodstream. I mean, that's pretty scary. And in fact, recent research has shown that having plastic in the lipids that could be blocking your blood vessels increases your risk of heart attack or stroke by 4 times. And they've been able to find plastic particles in testicles, in semen, and in the penis as well, all right? So that doesn't actually make you sit up and take note of that plastic water bottle. I don't know what will.
Hey there, I want to share another resource with you. My free resource on foods that can impact on brain health, specifically Alzheimer's disease and dementias. Important research is helping us to appreciate that your diet, can make a marked difference when it comes to your brain health. So I want to share 3 foods that you can add to your plate today that can help you avoid cognitive decline. Check out my resource, available for free right now in the caption below. Now, back to the video.
Okay, but drink water. Drink it out of a tap, drink it out of a glass. That's actually what you prefer. It's good for your brain. That's good for brain health. Okay. And I'm telling you this because if you are thirsty, you might have the temptation to reach for a soft drink, a soda, or a fruit juice. And in every single case, a glass of water is going to be better than a soda. Regular soda, sugar sweetened beverage, or a diet soda. Cup of water is going to be better for you. And fruit juice, look, who doesn't like a fruit juice every now and then? There's a lot of sugar in fruit juice, all right? And so it's always better to drink water. Every now and then, if you're going to have fruit juice, I actually tell you just to have the whole fruit. And then you get the dietary fiber and all the polyphenols as well. All right, so we talked about have coffee in the morning, tea in the evening. We said watch your metabolism, try to elevate your metabolism. We gave some specific foods that you can actually eat and beverages that you can eat to enhance your metabolism and good for brain health. Fifth, exercise. Exercise, movement, okay, is good for the brain. You know, when they actually found what kind of movement, one of the best kind of movements you can do until you're really quite old is dancing. All right. Dancing happens to be something. If you've ever seen, if you look up on YouTube, dancing in China, you will see people who are elderly doing ballroom dancing in public squares in the evening. It's actually really delightful to actually see. All right. So, but any kind of physical activity, walking, running, you don't need to actually belong to a gym. You don't need to actually hire a trainer. You could, all right? And you don't even need to own a bike or play basketball with your buddies. But you want to stay in motion. If you like to do all those sporting activities, please do it. Play pickleball, whatever it is that actually keeps you in motion. Walking upstairs keeps you in motion. Walking around your house when it's raining, cats and dogs outside and you don't want to get soaked, walk around the house. That is staying in motion. Keeping in motion makes for good circulation, better blood vessel health, with better brain health, right? A healthy heart means a healthy brain. All you need to do, okay, and this is, I don't mean by all, that's the only thing you need to do, but what I'm saying is that staying in motion, to stay active, do at least a 30-minute brisk walk every single day. That should be your baseline. That's a great way to actually stay in baseline shape. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people go, you know what, I'm not used to working out. I don't know if I can get to doing it. I don't want you to actually go try to work out like crazy, which might not be good for your heart anyway, suddenly, and then say, you know what, a week of doing it, I can't do this anymore. I quit. I'd rather have you walk regularly after dinner, just walk off with some of the food that you ate. You'll actually be more relaxed in the evening and probably get a better night's sleep anyway. In the evening, or you can take a walk in the morning too. If you can squeeze it in your morning routine, that is a great way. It's not too hot yet. You can go out, get some sunshine, vitamin D, all those kinds of things, some fresh air. All right. That's all good. So these are just little tips of staying active. All right. We talked about 5 things that are good for brain health, 5 habits. Now, I just want to actually close by saying a few things that you want to avoid if you want to keep your brain health. Things you want to avoid for better brain health. All right. First, don't drink alcohol regularly. Now, I know alcohol is part of our society. So that's why I think I don't scold people about drinking alcohol. But you should know that alcohol is a toxin and your brain is especially sensitive. It kills your neurons. So you kill a little brain cells every time you have a drink. Look, the brain is pretty resilient. It'll bounce back. But this is why you shouldn't be drinking it regularly. You don't want to stun your brain every time you sit down for a meal, all right? Or drinking outside of a meal too, all right? So I think that there's a myth, by the way, that a glass of red wine is good for you. Look, here's what's the case. Red wine tastes great. It's a fine beverage to have, for social events, but there's nothing healthy about it. The alcohol in the red wine, the thing that gives you a buzz, kills brain cells. So if you want healthy brains cells, don't drink regularly. By the way, step up a notch to hard liquor. Now we're talking about a really, really hard-hitting poison for your brain. All right, hard liquor, whiskey, vodka, all those kinds of hard liquors are really a deadly toxin to your brain. So if you're going to have it, what I say is have it in company. Don't ever drink alone. Have it in the context of celebration or recognition, an event. That's actually fine. I think in moderation, a lot of moderation, but don't drink regularly and don't drink alone. All right. Just remember, alcohol is a brain toxin. There's no way around it. It just is. The second thing you want to avoid, don't eat too much salt. Now, salt tastes good. Salt, you get popcorn, you can put some salt on it. That makes it a lot tastier. And that's why at a restaurant, you ever watch in an open kitchen? Pay attention next time you're at a restaurant where they have an open kitchen or maybe a food channel and you watch somebody sprinkling salt in. Chefs pick up a lot of salt and they sprinkle it on because they know salt makes food taste good. Before it actually gets too salty, it just keeps on upping the ante of making the food taste good. But here's the deal. Salt raises your blood pressure. Raising your blood pressure actually can damage the lining, that ice skating rink of your blood vessels. Guess what? Now, clots can actually form. That's why high blood pressure, hypertension, is a silent killer. It sets you up for stroke, okay? Increases your stroke risk. So just keep your salt to modest levels. I would say enough to make your food taste good. Don't put extra salt down as a reflex by any means, okay? And by the way, you can also get low sodium things if you're buying it from a store. And if you are eating in a restaurant and the food is too salty, please send it back and tell the chef that they put too much salt in it. And they'll bring you back another one that doesn't have as much salt. Like, I think the chefs need that feedback and in order to be able to give you a healthy, enjoyable meal. All right, you can also ask the chef to make a low sodium, low salt version. You don't want to increase your risk for stroke. All right, now the other thing you want to avoid is eating ultra processed foods. I told you about this already. Ultra processed foods damage your gut health. Poor gut health is poor brain health. Enough said. There's a lot that can be talked about with ultra processed foods, but you don't want to have that dysbiosis or sick gut bacteria, which can definitely impact on your brain health. Now, the last thing you want to actually avoid is screwing up your sleep. All right. Sleep is really important for brain health. There is a sewer system in your brain called the glymphatic system. It's like the lymphatic system. It carries fluid in your brain. The glymphatic system is like the Paris sewers, which, again, in Paris, there's an extensive series of underground sewers that keep the city above the street level clean. All right. And what brain does too with the glymphatic system is at night, when you actually are sleeping deeply, the sewer system opens up and you drain your brain out of all the toxins that have accumulated during the day. So if you want good brain health, you want to actually have good sleep as well. Sleep hygiene is a topic I'll do for another video, but in order to sleep well, here's one critical tip. And I know this is difficult to do even for me, all right? So I'm just telling you, it's hard for me, but it's really important if you want to get good sleep. Don't expose your eyes and hence your brain, right? Your eyes are just part of your brain, to blue light that comes from a screen, like a phone, before you sleep. You kind of want to actually, like I said, this is difficult for me to do too. You kind of want to put down your screens for about 2 hours before you go to bed at night. I know you're saying good luck, Dr. Lee, but please try to do that and because it'll actually help you get a better night's sleep. Better night's sleep, your lymphatics open up, you're draining the toxins from your brain, and then the next morning you're actually going to feel better. All right, that's actually really, really important. If you don't, you're going to be brain foggy, right? Not surprising because your toxins are still in your sleep. The other thing you want to check out is that you might actually have sleep apnea that can interfere with sleep. So if your bed partner says that you're snoring all the time, doesn't matter if you're a big person or you're a skinny person, the tissue in the back of your throat can enlarge. By the way, excess body fat, overconsumption. One of the first places that you can actually grow extra fat is in the back of your tongue, by your throat. You got a fat back of your tongue. When you're sleeping and relaxed, it can collapse and you can actually have sleep apnea. You're not going to sleep well because this fatty tissue is going to collapse and you're going to wake up startled and you're never quite getting enough sleep because the fatty tissue in the back of your throat's actually blocking your ability to get enough oxygen. So you're waking up all the time. All right, you won't even know it. You're just waking up all the time and you're snoring at the same time because all that fatty tissue It's just creating that funky snoring sound when air is going in and when air is going out. All right, this is a medical issue, sleep apnea. You'd want to talk about it with your doctor. There's a sleep study, and sleep apnea is treatable, so something that you should think about. One thing that you can do to reduce the consequences of sleep apnea is to improve your metabolism, lower that body fat, and that actually can improve sleep apnea as well. Now, I write in Eat to Beat Your Diet, again, this book about reducing tongue fat. It's an interesting little side fact. I'm not going to spoil it here. You got to read the book and check it out, Eat to Beat Your Diet. And I talk about how tongue fat actually builds up, even in skinny people. So I think that's it. We talked about 5 things to do. We talked about a bunch of things not to do for brain health. I hope you learned a few things. I'll see you again for the next video.
Hi there. If you enjoyed watching this video, I know you'll love the next one. Stay here and check it out, and I'll see you there.